Hey YouTube, this is Gracie and welcome back to Card-tober, a series in which I show you how to make a Disneybounding Halloween card every day in the month of October. This week has been the week of Hocus Pocus and last week was the week of villains. So if you guys are interested in seeing any of those videos, I'll be leaving a link to a playlist at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. Today's card is Disneybounding as the Book of Spells from Hocus Pocus. Now again, this is just a nod or a reference to the book. It's not an exact replica of it. It's just my Disneybounding interpretation of it. So to start off, I used scrapbooking paper that looks like faux leather. And I've also done a design here that is die cut out. And those are book shapes, which let me go ahead and show you the embossing or the die cut that I used for that. This is the Spellbinders Nest Abilities in Labels 7, and they just basically look like a bunch of books. And that's the main section of the card here. I've also distressed every inch of this card, and then I've also done some stitching to reference the actual stitching of the book that has it all over the entire spell book, because it is made of bits and pieces of human flesh. So we gotta, gotta represent the stitches there. I've also done a tiny little stamp down here in the bottom right hand corner to reference the actual eye that's on the spell book. And then if you can tell in the center here, I've done an embossing folder that looks like writing. And I just thought that was kind of cute to add there. This is the embossing folder I used from the Paper Studio, and it's literally just a bunch of script. The eye stamp is from Stampin' Up! Toil and Trouble stamp set, and I've used this entire stamp set on the inside as well. And then I've also done the inside differently. It's not a typical card where you open it and you read it. So the sides here are kind of an accordion, but I made it to look like actual pages of a book. So I have it at the top and at the bottom. And then to open it, you just pull out the inside of your card. So it kind of makes almost like an envelope. And this is where you're going to put all of the writing, whatever you want to say to the person. I've done this stamp on the front of it just because I thought it almost looked like an actual spell that you would see in a witch's spell book. And then I've done like a little tab here and I wrote on there my favorite spell. On the back side is where you'll be able to write your message to the person, like Happy Halloween, I hope you are excited to come to my Halloween party, or whatever you want to say. I've done a little bat here as well, so I love bats. So that is basically your card. That just slides right inside the accordion part of it. And then on the back side, I did my G stamp, which is from Tim Holtz Ideology. And this is just a 28 piece cling foam stamps that are just Gothic letters. And then also for the distressing that I've done was the Perfect Pearls Mists in Perfect Copper. I've also used all of these distress inks here. And again, they're all from Ranger Tim Holtz. Antique Linen, Vintage Photo, and Tea Dye. We're just going to set those aside for right now. I've also included some bits and pieces from this stamp set here. Again, Tim Holtz, he's got the best distress stuff ever. If you need anything to look grungy and dirty, he's the way to go. This is called just Halloween, I guess. Yeah, stamp and stencil. The other one that I used was from Stampin' Up, and this is Timeless Textures. I've done this kind of like coffee cup stain, and I thought it was kind of cool to put that on the inside card because it was almost like the witch put down her witch's brew to, actually make her, potion or whatever she was trying to do. So I thought that was kind of cute. And then I've also done some wax melt here. I just literally melted some wax on there. So yeah, let me go ahead and quickly show you guys how to make this card. It is a little time consuming, so I'm going to kind of rush through it here. You're going to start off, or at least I did, with a brown card that is 5.5 by 4 inches, and then I cut down the faux leather scrapbooking paper to the exact size, so 5.5 by 4. I've already gone ahead and spritzed it with my Perfect Copper Perfect Pearls Mists, and I've already stamped the bottom right hand corner as well. The next step I did was cut out 3 different sizes of the book die cuts. And because this is scrapbooking paper, I went ahead and also cut out some thicker, like off-white cardstock to put the scrapbooking paper on top of. So you're just going to glue all of that together. And then, again, you're just going to glue these layers together as well. So let me go ahead and get some glue out here. And I've also done the stitch work with just some really thick black thread and a thick needle. I'm not going to do that on camera for you guys today because it is a little bit difficult to do that in a time crunch. So I'm going to leave that up to your guys' imagination. You can certainly, if you don't have a needle and thread like I do, you can do alternative ways to get that stitch look. You can just use a marker. You can go ahead and use some, like an embossing, ink pen, and then emboss it, just a couple stitch lines, that kind of thing. Use your imagination. That's the whole point of this channel, is to inspire everyone and kind of bring some happiness to your lives, as well as mine. Mostly mine, actually. So anyway, now that we've glued all of those pieces together, we're gonna let that kind of sit aside and dry just for a few seconds. And let me show you the next step. I have already done these scrunch sides, or the pages, and they are 2 inches thick by 3 3/4 long. So this right here is the 2 inches, and this is the 3 3/4. And all you're going to do is just kind of, fold it so it kind of makes that scrunchy paper look. The next thing to do is, and the reason why we cut it just a smidge under the actual card width, is because you want to have enough room for the card to close. So we're going to try our best to just use a little bit of glue. Let me go ahead and do that on camera here so you can see what I'm doing here. Just a very thin layer of glue. You can also use tacky dot singles and then cut them up a bunch, which is how I did my first card. But I felt like that was a little bit too time consuming, so let's go ahead and do the top here. So I'm going to try and use glue this time. I feel like this might be the wrong glue to use because, like I've said in my previous videos, this Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue does dry and stays sticky. So you're gonna probably have a sticky mess, but guess what? This is a witch's spell book, and it's meant to be ugly and distressed and like it's been used like a million times. So it doesn't matter, in my opinion, how ugly and messy it turns out. I think that's what makes it look better. So we're gonna use just a thin layer here and just kind of go from the outer corner to the inside of the card, and try our best to kind of hold it there for a few seconds. Okay, and let's also put that aside for just a few more seconds, and let's do the inside of the card while those pieces dry. Now, I believe I'm going to go ahead and leave the dimensions of this part of the card in the description box. I believe it's just under the actual card size, but I can't remember, so I'll have to measure it and then put that in the description box. Now, in my first version, I went ahead and just distressed every corner, every inch of this, and I've also burnt the bottom of this card. So let's go ahead and show you how I did that. This is the fun part. I felt like this is kind of like the crafty part, because you can literally do whatever you want to this part of the card. And we're just going to make this look like somebody left this in their coffee for like a few seconds. Like they might have spilt on it, or it's just been sitting for a long time. So let's go ahead and just go crazy on it. The uglier, the better, in my opinion. I love it. And even if you wrinkle the paper, who cares? That's the best part, right? All right, well, let's also do the back side. Okay. And literally, I'm just banging this paper up. I don't care what I do to it. That's what makes it look cool. So that was the antique linen, and now we're going to use just a smidge of the, tea dye And just do a couple parts here because we don't want to get too crazy. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is take a little bit of the vintage photo. I'm getting real crazy with the inks here. And we're just going to do, why not? Let's go ahead and keep that darker ink out, which is, what did I say this was? The vintage photo. And let's go ahead and take our Stampin' Up! Timeless Textures and get some more of that little, whatchamacallit, like coffee or teacup stain. Put that on a clear block and just kind of stamp it in your corner, wherever you'd like it. Okay. And let's go ahead and clean that up. And I think the next thing I want to do is, let's see here. Let's put a bat on there from the Tim Holtz collection. I like bats. I've always had a thing for bats. In kindergarten, we were made to paint something special on the wall for a giant mural for the whole kindergarten classes, and the only thing I can think of to paint was a big, huge black bat. So, amongst all these other little 5-year-old kindergarten students, there's rainbows, there's butterflies, there's ladybugs, and then there's my giant black bat. I've always been proud of that fact. So yeah, ever since then I've kind of had a thing for bats. I don't know why that is, but it's just kind of been my thing. So let's see, what else should we put on there? I think maybe we need a letter from the Tim Holtz foam stamps. And I think we're going to go with the H once again, just because it is for Halloween and Hocus Pocus. And these were quite fun. I really liked using the foam stamps. It kind of reminds me of like what kind of stamps you used to use when you were a little kid. And that's the fun part about all of this, is that you get to kind of remember how it was when you were a kid. See how beautiful that turns out? Wonderful. All right, so I think that's going to be it for the inside of the card. Oh, no, I take that back. We forgot the best part, the actual spell. So we're going to be using the Toil and Trouble spell here, or poem actually. We're going to put that on our, where did I put it? Ginormous ink pad, or stamp pad rather. And let's use some Memento Tuxedo Black, which is my go-to black ink. And we're going to try our best to do this quickly, because we're getting a little bit long on this video. I hope you guys are liking this Card-tober series. I'm having a lot of fun doing it for you, so I hope you guys enjoy it, are enjoying it, whatever. Okay, and just kind of stick that right in the center and press down, because this part you want to show the most. There you go. Perfect. Turned out wonderfully. And I think that's about it for the inside the card there. Just put that aside. And let's put that aside to dry. Let's go back to our card and actually put the front on it. Okay. What I did next was I actually added the stitches after it dried. But in this case, like I said, I'm going to try and be quick about it. So I'm going to leave that to your imagination, and I'm just going to go ahead and put our pop dots on here. Or 3D foam square adhesives, whatever you want to call them. I call them pop dots, other people call them other things. So whatever you want to call them, they could be little square jacks for all I care. There you go. All right. Sorry, I just made up a name, by the way. All right, so we also need to ink the edges of this. So we're going to use the lightest color, Antique Linen, because we want to bring it back to the color of the actual spell book in the movie. And it's a little bit on the lighter side, so that's why we're using this color here. And because this is a Distress ink. It really shows very well on this darker paper. You can kind of see it there. It actually has a little bit of a shine right now, but when it dries, it's going to dry kind of chalky, which is awesome. And then let's go through with a little bit of the Distress Oxide. Now this stuff just pops when you get it on there, so you want to just do it very lightly because you don't want it to be too dark. Like I was just saying, we want to keep it on the lighter side, like the actual spell book in the movie. Okay, and let's just go ahead and place that onto the card. There you go. Nice and simple. And now let's glue the pages the rest of the way. Don't worry about getting these all inked up and gross, like my fingers just got that part of it dirty. That's just what's gonna make it look like it's been read a bunch. Okay, just a very thin layer. You don't want too much gobbing over. And that was a pretty good line right there, actually. Gonna go ahead and kind of scrunch those papers back down a little bit as best you can, because it's not gonna be easy here. This is one of the hard parts I found. But since we're using liquid glue, maybe this will be a little bit on the easier side. So let's go ahead and hold that down for a few seconds. Okay. Nope, that's not gonna stay right now. Basically, you guys get the idea. You wanna make sure that you're holding, I hope I was doing that in frame. Anyway, you wanna make sure that you're holding all of these edges down long enough for it to dry. There we go, that should be about right. And then you'll just go ahead and put your insert in, and that would be pretty much the end of your card. Don't forget to put your little icon on the back. I did my G stamp, like I said, in the Gothic letters, and then I did a little eyeball here for you. And there you have it. There is your Disneybounding Hocus Pocus spellbook. I hope you guys enjoy this series and enjoy today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, because all month there's going to be videos for you, Disneybounding Halloween cards, and pretty soon we're going to be sprinkling in a little bit of Harry Potter, so stay tuned for that as well. Happy Halloween. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!